Russia turns Mi-8 helicopter into a flying drone jammer. Russian engineers have turned one of their most common military helicopters into a flying jammer built specifically to blind Ukraine's long-range strike drones, Militarny reported, after a Russian propaganda Telegram channel accidentally revealed the previously unknown system in its own footage. The outlet identified the aircraft as a Mi-8, a twin-engine transport helicopter the Soviet Union first developed in the early 1960s and one of the most widely produced rotorcraft in the world, now fitted with what analysts believe is an electronic warfare system built to jam the satellite navigation signals Ukrainian drones rely on to reach distant targets deep inside Russia. The Russian Telegram channel published photos showing the modified Mi-8 carrying several flat panel antennas mounted at different angles on the helicopter's fuselage, arranged to cover roughly a 180-degree sector, with analysts telling Militarny that a matching set of antennas likely sits on the aircraft's opposite side to provide full coverage around the helicopter. Each panel connects to just two cables. A detailed Militarny analyst said points to a system capable of operating across two separate frequency channels simultaneously rather than a single, narrow jamming band. A system built to disrupt radio-controlled drones near the front line typically needs to cover a wide, constantly shifting range of frequencies, since operators on both sides regularly hop between channels specifically to dodge jamming attempts, and a two-channel system would struggle badly against that kind of frequency-agile threat. Instead, Militarny's analysis concluded the helicopter's likely purpose is jamming the fixed-frequency satellite navigation signals used by Ukraine's long-range strike drones, the class of weapon Ukraine has increasingly relied on to hit fuel depots, airfields, and military-industrial sites hundreds of kilometers inside Russian territory. If that assessment holds, the two cables feeding each antenna panel probably correspond to two different signal polarizations, a technical approach that lets the jammer broadcast interference in multiple orientations at once and reduces how much the system's effectiveness depends on the exact angle a drone's own navigation antenna happens to be pointed. An alternate explanation Militarny analysts raised is that the two cables instead cover two distinct satellite navigation frequency bands, with one handling the L1 band around 1.5 to 1.6 GHz and the other covering the L2 and L5 bands near 1.2 GHz, a configuration that would let each antenna panel jam both of the primary frequency ranges multi-band drone navigation receivers commonly use at the same time. Most long-range strike drones don't rely purely on satellite navigation to begin with, typically pairing GPS or GLONASS signals with an onboard inertial navigation system that tracks the aircraft's position using internal sensors alone. But that inertial backup exists mainly to bridge relatively brief gaps in satellite coverage, since its accuracy degrades and accumulates drift the longer a drone flies without a fresh satellite fix to correct its course, meaning a drone crossing through a large, sustained jamming zone could drift considerably farther off target than the small, momentary GPS-denied pockets the inertial system was designed to handle. That vulnerability appears to explain why Russia chose a helicopter for this mission rather than a fixed jamming installation. Militarny analysts said Russian forces likely intend to use these modified Mi-8s the same way Ukraine has already deployed its own light aircraft-based jammers, a reference to platforms like the Shark, a small Ukrainian-built aircraft Kyiv has adapted specifically to carry electronic warfare equipment aloft. Mounting a jamming system on a helicopter rather than a ground vehicle or fixed tower lets Russian forces quickly reposition the capability to whatever region needs coverage at a given moment, moving the electronic threat to match wherever Ukrainian long-range drone strikes happen to be concentrated rather than defending a single fixed location. The timing lines up with a broader expansion of Russia's Mi-8 fleet already underway. According to a report from the private analytics firm Dallas Analytics, Russia plans to build 72 multipurpose Mi-8 MTV-1 helicopters between 2026 and 2027, with the Kazan helicopter plant expected to deliver at least 37 aircraft this year alone. A production pace the analytics firm said significantly exceeds earlier estimates of how quickly Russia could manufacture the Mi-8 platform. A production run that large gives Russian military planners considerably more airframes to potentially convert into electronic warfare platforms like the one spotted in this leaked footage, should the concept prove effective enough to field at scale.